Welcome to a new episode of your Bannister Mile. First of all, thank you all for the amazing feedback on the first part of our podcast with Anneke Lucas. Even for us, Clara, Christian and me, Anneke's story is ever present in our daily life. In the first part of the podcast, which is already uploaded, Anneke has shared her touching and moving story as a child sex slave survivor. We highly recommend you to listen to the first part of our podcast with Anneke before listening to this part. That's all from our side. And again, we wish you many insights from Anneke Lucas Bannister Mile.
Your Bannister Mile, der Selbsthilfe-Podcast für dein Leben in Freiheit. Mit Clara, Lennart und Christian.
And if you start to connect to people first privately, hopefully you will find that reflection. Mm-hmm. You don't need somebody telling you what you're feeling. You need somebody to listen.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. You said my biggest trigger word, shame. Trigger in a sense that I couldn't agree more with you that this is the biggest trap for any human. And it doesn't matter what kind of shame. Yeah, there are all sorts of shames, so to say. What's your take on that? Because in my experience, shame is always linked to religion, to dogmatic religion. Not to spirituality, but to the institutionalized religion. Would you agree with that? Or do you think shame is something intrinsic human? Do you think we are born with a sense of shame or something like this, or is it kind of pushed into us?
Well, in the best sense, shame corrects your behavior. Mm-hmm. You do something, you hurt someone, you're like feel ashamed because you've caused a situation, and the shame corrects your behavior. Mm-hmm. That's simple. Okay. That's it.
Okay.
But religion, but not just religion, political correctness and yes. Brainwashing through political correctness, which is a new religion. It's like, it works like a religion. Absolutely. You're shamed if you don't think just exactly in the box that we give you. Mm. So, yeah, shame is used. I mean, I think sexual abuse of children is the biggest brainwashing technique there is. Because all children are completely vulnerable, and children are going to receive those messages, those lies. And then as adults, if we were abused as children, it's much easier to be brainwashed, because then we are already brainwashed, and we just. So I think shame has its purpose, and I think it's been, like many forces, has been usurped by the dark powers and made into something that, instead of connecting it to behavior, it's connected to the self, the sense of self. So if I, myself, as a being, am shameful because I was a child and I was called a whore, so that's shameful. So I felt that I am intrinsically a shameful being, that I should be ashamed just for being me. Mm. And I was made to feel that way all the time, that I should be ashamed for being me. That's ridiculous.
Absolutely.
Und wie hast du es geschafft, dann da rauszukommen? Also wie bist du persönlich diese Scham losgeworden? Übersetzen?
I will translate it as well, just in case Clara asks how you
personally
got out of the shame, and
Yeah. Slowly.
Okay.
Every time some memory starts to open up within me, there is a moment of shame, and I just am connecting them with parts that are holding shame. Because I'm connecting to a young part in me that is still holding that shame with the memory, because before it's released and before it's processed, there's the shame. Once I break through the shame, I can process it. I can deal with it more. But look, there's a thing that we do there's a group that I belong to in the United States called SIA. It's Survivors of Incest Anonymous. So I have their permission to talk about them. They're an anonymous group, but sorry, I thought I turned off the sound. And you know, they have retreats, and on the retreats we do my favorite thing. It's called Shame Busters. So it's a game. So we're all survivors of sexual abuse, and we sit in a circle, and somebody is in the circle, and they say, who has, and then it's like an experience, something that we've experienced in our sexual abuse that you're ashamed about. You say it in the circle, and then everybody who's experienced it jumps in the circle.
Oh, okay.
And then one person, then it's like like I think there's like one seat missing. So then you sit back down, and then whoever's standing in the circle will reveal something that they're ashamed about. And then everybody else who's got it just jumps up in the circle. Mm-hmm. I love that game. Shame Busters.
So it's actually, again, connecting as a group and connecting as a community to support each other.
Yes.
Can you give an example of an incident where people mention something they are ashamed of, like for maybe just to get an idea?
Oh, there's so much shame. You know, when people come, there's so much shame, and it's always this idea that someone that I'm working with feels really ashamed. So an SRA survivor, so satanic ritual abuse survivor, feels so much shame, and feels that he is so bad for what he was made to do. Because the children are in SRA, we are made to commit violence. That's part of how we are brainwashed. And, you know, that's very hard to get out of that shame, to feel that you are bad because you've actually done things. But then they just feel that they are still bad person, and they are evil because they've done that. Mm-hmm. And even though they were children and they were forced in the worst possible way, it's like whatever comes out of a person when you're made to do these things, you're being given a channel to release all this frustration and anger that has been built up, that you've never been able to express while you're being abused all this time. And then you get this one outlet that's completely destructive. And so it's natural, just like in sexual abuse, it's natural to feel pleasure. You know, so this person felt real shame about committing violence and not having feelings, committing violence, and feels that he must be evil, even though that's a long time ago and it was a part. So for sexual abuse survivors, they often feel bad people for, say, physically liking the abuse and loving the perpetrator, while that is a completely natural trauma response to like sexual abuse. Because it's interesting, in the beginning, before we started this conversation, or maybe after, we spoke about the collapsing completely, right, Sarah? So collapsing completely is one of the fight, flight, freeze, collapse. Very basic instinctual responses to life threat. And all brain activity recedes to the brain stem. There's no activity, nothing's happening in the brain, just survival, boom. So collapse can be one way to survive, like a possum. Freeze mode is very common during sexual abuse. So during freeze mode, the blood slows down, the blood flow slows down. Because if you were to be cut in nature, that would stop you from bleeding out so much. And then all these hormones are released in the system, so you actually are feeling pleasure so that you would not feel the pain. So while you're getting completely high, you may be from the next, after the system goes into freeze, you may be getting high, and then you think that you like the abuse while you're actually in a survival mode.
Yeah.
And there was pleasure experienced. And so that's, I think, for survivors of sexual abuse is the most common, to feel tremendous shame for loving the abuser, for feeling that the abuse was love, for feeling that they liked the abuse, all of that. It's the most natural thing in the world, especially if it was someone you knew. You love them anyway. It's not like you stop loving them.
Well, it makes total sense. I mean, I think it's what they, in science, I think they did some research with when people are kidnapped, the so-called Stockholm syndrome, right? And I mean, for me, this is the most logical thing to do in order to be able to cope with the situation. Otherwise, I think, your brain would explode, right? I mean,
that's right. You couldn't survive if you allowed that the reality, the knowledge of the reality emotionally to feel it all, you would die. So you don't feel it, you cope. But that's what everyone's doing.
yeah.
Everyone's coping.
Mm.
Healing is just allowing ourselves to feel everything.
Yes.
And that's becoming more aware of the world and aware of others and feeling. Feeling. Eventually, in spiritual teachings, the samadhi or the enlightenment is when you feel everything.
Und hattest du Angst davor, alles zu fühlen? Ich kann mich erinnern, dass es bei mir so war, dass ich manche Gefühle komplett ausgeschaltet hatte und dass ich jetzt sogar noch manchmal die Erfahrung mache, dass ich denke, wenn ich wirklich alles fühle, dann bin ich zu viel mit meinen Gefühlen, weil meine Gefühle so stark sind, weil ich sie so lange Zeit zurückgehalten habe.
Yeah, so
I quickly translate for the listeners if people who only speak English listen. So the question was,
Ob Anneke Schwierigkeiten
but
hat,
she's
alles
so
zu
used to shutting her feelings off, but
Yes.
she's afraid that when the feelings are too much, when you feel everything, it's just too painful, it's too much. And
Es geht gar nicht darum, dass es zu schmerzhaft ist, sondern eher darum, dass es allgemein zu viel ist. Also zu viel Freude auch oder zu viel Ausgelassenheit. Weil es mir manchmal so vorkommt, dass ich so lange Zeit die Gefühle zurückgehalten habe, dass ich denke, es ist einfach, wenn ich wirklich ganz all meine Gefühle lebe, dann ist es so übersprudelnd und so unglaublich viel, dass niemand damit umgehen kann.
Yeah, so-
das denke ich manchmal.
nobody could handle all your feelings because it's
Yeah.
way too much when you feel everything.
Ja. Und die Frage war, wie es dir gelungen ist und ob du Angst davor hattest, deine Gefühle zuzulassen oder ob du auch manche Gefühle komplett ausgeschaltet hast. Also ich zum Beispiel habe meine Wut komplett weggeschaltet. Das war gar nicht mehr vorhanden. Es ist mir so schwer gefallen, Wut zu empfinden.
So Clara was asking how you, learn to show your feelings, or if there's still some things you hold back, because Clara, for example, wasn't allowing herself to be angry. Yeah.
Well, anger and all feelings have their rightful place. In the healing process, all feelings have a place. All negative feelings have a place. If they're considered as part of the healing process, then furious anger is part of that. And it's very important to feel the anger and put it with the abusers because it restores the responsibility.
So you
But-
mean to send it back to them, or
Yeah.
to put, yeah.
Yeah.
Also das war dein Weg, wieder zu allen Gefühlen zu kommen, dass du jedes Gefühl dem passenden Menschen zuordnen konntest, sozusagen?
So was this part of your healing process that you could, attach all the emotions to a certain person, to a certain abuser, so to say?
For sure, yes. The most important thing about my healing process is to get to the bottom of using mindfulness of my thought processes and feelings in the moment that can be projected anywhere, to rein them in and to look at them and to go underneath and to go to the original incident So it can be connected to the person, whatever it is, if it's a betrayal or whatever, that it goes to the original incident, because when that happens, that link happens, then these repressed emotions of that original traumatic incident are connected to the source. That's when the consciousness expansion happens. Mm-hmm. When the feeling increases, because now this feeling that was suppressed, repressed, and it was having its own life, mm-hmm. Separate from its source. Once it's united, there's that the healing is this magical neural integration that happens, that does expand consciousness, and that does allow me, feeling and consciousness are the same in that sense. Then I can feel more. So I want to just separate feelings and, let's say, emotions. Mm-hmm. The emotions connected to abuse that are repressed in the moment for survival's sake, those emotions have their rightful place within the healing process. And feeling is a way to read the world aside from the rational brain. Yeah. That is it's different from, I'd say, the feelings that are connected to the pain.
Mm-hmm. You said something also very interesting, which resonates with me just now. If I understood you correct, you said that these strong emotions, they're almost like, I don't know, almost like entities which have their own dynamic, and that by reintegrating them where they belong or where they were kind of caused, you can basically go beyond and open. Did I understand this correct?
Absolutely. That's what changes them. That's how my anger transmuted. Mm-hmm. I had a terrible anger problem, especially since I look so nice on the outside, usually, so privately I would get very, very angry. And I was hurting, people. So I had to go deeper. And it was when finally I had to get all the memories, because I didn't even have the memories to connect it to. But eventually it was by directing that anger to its psychological cause. And I think we all get our package in life, that we have that psychological cause to put these entities with. Because yes, you can be overtaken by anger or envy, and it can rule your life. But if you choose, you can actually trace it back. You can work to trace it back to its source. And there is a source in the world, in this life.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Amazing. For me, this is amazing, because all of the things I knew but had no proof for, you're kind of confirming now. Which is, because you're confirming it with reality. I mean, for me it was a theory, but you have the reality and you're confirming it, and that's well, I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm happy about it, because I rather would have that it's not like this, but it seems to be like this. So it's wow, it's crazy.
Well, I'm not sorry.
Yeah.
I wanted to learn this. I mean, mm-hmm. I learned to love. That's the feeling, right? You just feeling. It's like learn to love. Mm-hmm. I think before I came in this life, I was probably pretty arrogant, and lots of things that my journey as a girl, as being female, and all the things that happened to me because of my gender originally, and being in that position as an adult, being a woman as an adult, and going through that healing, it's really taught me something I really wanted. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Wow. Whoa.
And continues, and it continues, memories fill out, but I find ideally, and I think that there's, part of my job, let's say, like I have a job to do, and I think part of my job is that whatever I was put through, if I can connect with the young self that went through that experience, I can ultimately connect to everyone. I can understand everyone. I can understand the worst perpetrators, and I can find empathy and sympathy for the worst perpetrators in the world. And I want that.
Mm.
I want to understand, and I think that's my protection.
Yes.
That I don't want to harm them.
Well, I also think by doing this, you don't go into resonance with this energy. You are rather lightening it up.
Yeah.
You're putting light into it.
Yeah.
So
shedding light on the darkness, and then it's
Yes.
gone, right?
Yes. Yes.
Once you shed light on the darkness, it's gone.
Yes.
Forever.
Wow.
You said you learned how to love. Do you love yourself?
Well, that's how it works, doesn't it?
Yes.
If you can't love yourself, you can't love anybody else. But I have created a healing modality called the unconditional model. And the unconditional model uses for self-love, to create self-love, an existing healing modality called internal family systems, where I change it a little bit, but I'm like, say, I am the adult self, and I look at thoughts and feelings as parts. A part of me is having this thought and this feeling, and it's helpful to put an age on this thought or feeling, on that part, and then to create a relationship from my adult parental motherly self to this young emotionally younger part inside of me. And that is a system that's worked really well for me. For the longest time, I would not have been able to do that, but I needed one person there to be safe, who could just keep reflecting my innocence back to me. And I needed that for many, many years. But once I had to begin the sort of enough self-esteem that I didn't have a terrible, terrible guilt complex, I was able to do this. That came to me right then. And it helped me so much quicker, because I could just do it myself all the time. And I do all the time. So if I have an angry thought, well, there's no shame, because it's a part that's having this thought, and I can connect with that part and check in with that part. And what you find is that these subpersonalities, they have their own set of beliefs and feeling, and it's a real conversation. Sometimes you start to get in touch with a part, they want to have nothing to do with you. So you were never there. Why? What are you doing here? I don't trust you. So that helps me to love myself, and then as I love myself, I can spread it. As much as I love myself, I can spread. I have nothing more to give than what I've given to myself.
So you're obviously teaching. You're working, can I say this, like as a healer as well? I mean, you do the yoga classes, and you work with traumatized people in groups. And let's say, some of our listeners hear this, they say, oh, what, my God, can I come? How?
Yeah. Well, I'm working with some German people. It's interesting that the Germans seem to be more interested and aware of this than other nationalities. It's very interesting. And Germanic, I should say. But yeah, so I'm actually working with some German therapists. I was in Prague recently, and I there were Germans that were present there for this. I did a group just with therapists there.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did a group with, and then the talks, I gave some talks. But I work privately with therapists who use me for supervision.
Mm-hmm.
More than one. So yes, I work with survivors, with therapists,
Mm-hmm.
people who have a history of healing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not right for everybody, but I'm right for certain people.
Mm-hmm.
I work individually, and then groups. Well, I think once my book will be out, which should be next year, we will be able to maybe do more of speaking and so forth, because that's part of it. Speaking and spreading the message of love.
Mm-hmm. So, do you also come? You said to Prague now, but do you come frequently to Europe to give like workshops or to work with people, or is this something
To
which
visit us.
or to visit us, or could there be could something be organized, or would you come if something would be organized, stuff like this?
I would love to come. I would love to come to Germany, and I have nothing planned. I'll just put it that way. But if someone wants to organize something, for talks combination in Prague, I did a combination. I did 2 talks and 2 workshops with therapists. It went very well.
Mm.
And people came out. It was an event that was set up with just me speaking. It was the first time I was like the only thing happening. And it was, I was impressed that so many people want to hear this message.
Mm. How actually, I mean, how did you come to this TED Talk in Klagenfurt? I mean, why Klagenfurt? Why not, I don't know, South Africa, or what do I know?
Well, the organizer of TEDx Klagenfurt had seen a black and white video that went viral in 2016. At the end of 2016. That's the one that, and that's why I ended up in the Daily Mail and UK and all that. But it was all over.
Yeah,
it was all over. And so based on that video, he just asked me on Facebook, would you come to Klagenfurt? And I just said yes.
Okay.
And then thankfully they had, I was very grateful. They had because I tend to speak for, an hour or more. So I worked with a coach that they provided. So I was really able to get my message, in a succinct state.
I mean, when I saw this talk, I mean, I don't know, as I told you before, I'm a lot, or was even more, but still I'm partly a lot on stage. So I know that there can be a difference how you appear to other people and what goes on inside you. But what I saw was very composed and very strong and very on the point. Is this how you felt inside as well, or were you very kind of, I don't know, nervous or excited, or how would you say?
Well, I get nervous before the talks, but I think that's a good thing. You know, it's like an
excited
energy is brewing, let's say. So I think that's a positive thing. I'd be worried maybe if I wasn't. No, I have had talks where I wasn't nervous at all. But I pray.
Yes. And what is this for you? I mean, when you do this talk, when you did this talk or other talks, I mean, for me, I don't know, I see or I sense energy is very strong. Yeah. When I was a kid, I could see it. Now I don't see it. It's just rather like plasma somehow. And it was extremely powerful. How does it feel for you? It's like, going like, it's like a shock wave going out. Not shock in a negative sense, in a positive sense. And you're like, whoosh, like this, Yeah, exactly. So I mean, when you do this, are you aware of this, of the impact this has?
No. Well, I felt the room getting very quiet.
Yes.
So I did feel that there was space, that I was being heard.
Yes.
It might be related to the pent-up feeling of, I always wanted to talk. I wanted to talk when I was a child. I always wanted to reveal the truth. I always wanted the truth to be known.
Mhm.
And I spent most of my life with nobody caring about my truth and being blamed for saying something true.
Mm.
So from a personal standpoint, to be heard, it's like, wow. And yes, I've got something to say. I've had all this time to heal when nobody was listening.
Mhm.
And now I'm more aware that, yeah, there's a job to do. And I am gladly do it as service, Service is the most beautiful thing.
Yes.
One thing I'm really fascinated about is actually your smile. It's
Yes.
amazing. People can't see it actually when they listen to the podcast, but you have such an amazing smile, which is so honest and pure. It's actually, no, seriously, it's I don't know, Callisto is literally like competing to your smile. It's so childish. It's amazing. Like, yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. I hope that it reflects what I feel inside.
Yes, it does. Otherwise, it wouldn't be so touching.
Yeah.
Und Callisto war noch nie so lange wach bei einem Gespräch. Er findet dich ganz faszinierend.
Yes.
I can't see Callisto, unfortunately.
Mhm.
Here we go.
Oh my God. You have is the perfect baby.
Danke.
Perfect baby.
Well, I have to say it's a really perfect mother here as well. So.
Yeah, it's so touching, really. It's beautiful. So touching.
Mhm.
Ich find das auch selbst so schön, dann zu merken, wie man sich daraus befreit. Also ich konnte mir zum Beispiel nie vorstellen, jemals schwanger zu sein. Das war für mich sowas von abwegig und ich habe immer gedacht, das wäre wirklich der Grund, mich umzubringen. Und dann habe ich dieses wundervolle Wesen geboren und das ist so erstaunlich manchmal, wenn ich zurückblicke und denke, was war da los mit mir damals und jetzt bin ich so frei. Und das merke ich auch an dir und das ist so faszinierend einfach. Das ist so schön.
It's beautiful. The freedom from first thinking you would never be able to be pregnant. And
Ja.
then to go through that experience and
Ja.
so much love.
Ja. Ja, es ist das Ergebnis purer Liebe, oder? Also so fühlt es sich an. Es macht mich so unendlich dankbar und ergriffen. Ja.
Ergriffen? What does that mean?
Well, if you're very touched, if you're very
Moved, yeah.
moved, yeah. Mm.
Grateful and moved.
Grateful,
Yeah.
yes.
I know.
Whoa.
This amazing miracle of this baby.
Mm.
And I was so worried when I got pregnant because I thought I'm going to put all this. I'd been healing for many, many years, but I was very afraid that I was going to be a perpetrator, that I was going to. And when she came, it was so simple.
Mm.
And it's so precious.
Yes. Mm.
And then later, when she got a little older, things got very hard for me because then I did start to project and I realized I'm not good enough. And then my daughter became my motivation to go very, very deep. And I would have killed myself first many times before going and feeling that pain that I got in touch with after that. Because I was very attached to some perpetrators. Because I got some love from some perpetrators. And I was so attached to them. And it was through my daughter I had to face that so that I could love her instead of them.
Mm. Wow.
And that was the shift. Learn to love her instead of them.
Wow.
It's a big, long, painful process. And I went deeper than ever. I would have never gone so deep in that pain and that those betrayals, and without having this little creature that she needs me.
And you went through it by meditation or by healing circles, by spiritual work? What was it? Or was there only one thing you applied? Or
No, it was always a combination of what you say. It was always a combination of therapy with meditation. That was the most important. The spiritual work, which I always considered my healing as spiritual work also. Even though my therapist didn't feel that way, I felt it's spiritual work. And then the meditation to get the perspective, the truth. And yoga to stay healthy, and to also, it gets you out of your mindset, whatever your mindset may be, can get you, give you some distance from it, get you in a better place. Always the combination. And writing. Yeah. What's your combination?
Ich musste schmunzeln beim Schreiben, als du das gesagt hast, weil das Schreiben immer mein Ventil war. Also in den ganzen Jahren, wo ich dachte, ich werde verrückt, weil ich mir selber nicht geglaubt habe und weil ich auch niemandem anderen vertraut habe und weil ich immer dachte, ich kann ja darüber gar nicht sprechen, wie ich mich fühle, weil sonst wäre ich permanent in der geschlossenen Psychiatrie eingesperrt, habe ich alles immer aufgeschrieben. Und das war so, ja, befreiend irgendwie. So frei, wie ich mich fühlen konnte, ging es nur durchs Schreiben. Also ansonsten wäre ich wahrscheinlich durchgedreht. Übersetzen?
Oh, so Clara said that she was smiling when you talked about writing, because it was her kind of, a way to not get crazy or to not be afraid of, coming to the close psychiatric, clinic. So it was always, she said that she thought that nobody would believe her anyhow or whatever, and she would, be considered crazy. And with the writing, it was a kind of way to kind of let it out and channel this energy out of the system.
Es war auch insofern hilfreich, weil ich mich so gemischt gefühlt habe. Also ich hatte oft das Gefühl, ich verliere den Bezug zu mir selbst und weiß gar nicht, wer ich eigentlich bin. Und bin mal ein kleines Mädchen und mal bin ich jemand, der ganz wütend ist und mal bin ich jemand, der nur Englisch sprechen kann, weil er sich sonst nicht ausdrücken darf, und mal bin ich jemand, der 3 Tage schweigen muss, weil ich überhaupt gar nicht das Recht habe, überhaupt zu existieren. Also das war so verwirrend, und das konnte ich besser nachvollziehen, indem ich meine Texte gelesen habe, weil oft wusste ich nicht, dass ich was schreibe, und habe im Nachhinein dann gedacht, wow, okay, es gibt also diese verschiedenen Menschen oder Anteile, die aus mir sprechen, aber das bin trotzdem ich. Also ich konnte das trotzdem mir noch irgendwie zuordnen, und das war hilfreich, das schwarz auf weiß einfach zu sehen.
I see. Yeah, Lara
It
said
sounds
that.
like you found your own system of parts work, that you were writing from these different parts that were yourself, in different aspects of yourself that were writing, and that, I tell you, the internal family system is called, he meant, the founder of it, Richard Schwartz, calls it healthy multiplicity.
Okay.
Healthy multiplicity, that each person, he figured he has about 50 parts. So that you found your own parts work through the writing, the voices, and so each part was given voice through that writing. It's very beautiful.
Ja, genau. Also ich hatte nie das Gefühl, dass ich multiple bin, in dem Sinne, dass ich wirklich switche in verschiedene Anteile, aber es war dieses Gefühl von, es gibt immer irgendeinen Ausweg. Also ich muss mich nicht umbringen und ich muss nicht verrückt werden, weil irgendein Teil von mir hat noch Stimme. Ob es jetzt ein kleines Kind ist oder jemand, der nur Englisch spricht, oder jemand, der 3 Tage schweigt, aber danach wieder spricht. Irgendwie war das hilfreich, um damit umzugehen.
Absolutely. And I do the same thing, by the way. And yes, it's not, I personally don't really know the diagnosis of multiple personality, and I don't know to which degree, its parts. And I work with people who are diagnosed and who like being diagnosed, but So, like you have the girl who doesn't speak for 3 days and then she speaks, and one who only speaks English. And I have the same thing. I have all these different parts. I learned to speak German in this training in Germany, and then by a German politician who spent a lot of time with me. That's how I learned German, because he spoke very, very well and was easy to learn from. And to have this overseeing personality who can deal with all of it and know that you're not crazy, and know that you're not that you don't have to kill yourself, because there's this other aspect of you that is sort of overseeing, that is maybe more connected to your true self, that you can observe all of these parts within you. And that's what I call the parental, nurturing, mothering self.
Okay. Ja, ich fand es im Nachhinein so faszinierend, wenn ich darauf geschaut habe, weil auch wenn ich dachte, es gibt für mich überhaupt keinen Ausweg und der einzige Ausweg, überhaupt mit all dem umzugehen, ist Suizid, im Nachhinein gibt es immer irgendetwas, wo ich irgendeinen Weg gefunden habe, doch damit umzugehen. Und das ist auch das, was ich bei dir feststelle oder so stark wahrnehme. Und das finde ich total wahnsinnig irgendwie, weil es gibt von außen betrachtet Dinge, wo jemand, der das nicht kennt, denken würde, das kann man doch gar nicht schaffen. Und wie geht jemand mit sowas um, ohne dass er nur dauernd wütend ist oder depressiv im Bett liegt oder nur noch weint? Und anscheinend gibt es ja einen Überlebensmodus, irgendwie damit umzugehen. Ja.
It sounds like you had a lot of love for your parts, though. For a lot of love for your parts, and not at all disconnected.
Ja.
Very present with all your different parts. So we're holding these different aspects of the abuse and other things, and reactions to the abuse.
Ja. Und das ist auch schön für unsere Hörer, finde ich, weil sie finden auch irgendeinen Weg, damit umzugehen. Welcher Weg das ist, das merkt jeder für sich, aber ich glaube, das Schreiben und das sich bewusst machen, dass man es bis jetzt geschafft hat und nicht aufgegeben hat, das gibt Motivation für den nächsten Tag. Und mir hat es geholfen, in kleinen Schritten zu denken. Ich konnte mir nicht vorstellen, die nächste Woche zu erleben, aber ich konnte mir vorstellen, die Nacht zu überstehen. Und das ist...
I think I will translate this for the people who only speak English. That's also, or you want to translate it, Anneke, because you're much more in the case.
Well, okay, so I understood that you said that the writing gave you that maybe you couldn't imagine, 3 weeks ahead, that would be too difficult, but that the writing gave you at least that you had something to live for, and that you could at least spend the night, because you knew that you would have this record and this observation power, that, there would be a record.
And also over the observation, over the possibility to still observe a bit, that for the listeners out there, that they are aware that there's always something which is possible. Yeah?
Yes.
Und es ist für jeden etwas anderes.
Yes, the hopelessness comes from a part.
Yes.
Hopelessness and giving up. When you feel like giving up, it's a part.
It's not everything, right? It's not the whole.
Yeah.
It's not the whole. It's hard to get that mental distance, but you did it through writing, and there's always some way to get a little bit of, hopefully there's always a way to get a little mental distance.
Yes. Yes. Anneke,
I wasn't expecting this.
Yes. Yes, well, we since he's born, we do pretty much all of our podcasts with him. Because
he's this young and he doesn't understand.
Well, yeah, he does.
Er möchte mit dir sprechen. He wants to talk to you.
What I would be curious, let's look ahead like 20, 30 years, yeah?
Yeah.
What would be your vision? What would be your...
You're the first person to ask. Thank you very much.
Really? Okay.
20, 30 years might be a little short.
or let's say 50.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Things are happening so quickly, right?
Yes.
I'm telling you, earlier in my life, I had no idea that anybody would ever want to hear any of what I have to say. And look at me now. So 20, 30 years from now, I think what is happening and what is gradually will manifest more and more is that this balancing that is happening from away from the dark patriarchy that is put reason on a pedestal and is killing everything that is female, trying to suppress everything that is female. The divine female grace, the women, girls, and feeling itself as a female entity, that this is now starting to come into balance. Like you were feeling things when you were little and you know that this is true, even though you can't go and get proof of it and do, a survey and check and make sure and know that this politician's lying, right? You can't do that. Or you could, but you get in trouble. But it's things that are not known in the physical world. And we are getting more and more comfortable with knowing these things that are not physical, that are part of our greater self, that we intuitively know things to be true. And that is increasing through each person's individual healing and the awareness that is starting to filter through to everybody because of communication skills, that we will gradually stop giving our power away to politicians, and things are going to change a lot. That's to say, when people become empowered, everything has to shift. The money flow has to change. It has to be taken away. Look, people who have too many billions will be happy to heal, will be happier healed persons than sick demagogues as they are right now. But if we stop giving them power and we see them, if we can see everyone at the emotional age that they are at.
That's a very good one.
And treat them that way. And then bring forth our own mothering, nurturing self, so that we don't get stuck in the vengeance and we don't get stuck in the anger and we don't kill them. Because a lot of people want them dead. Once people find out that this person's a pedophile, they want to kill them, right? So let's not kill them.
Yes.
Let's look at them as they really are, the emperor without clothes. And as we wake up, we will see that these are emperors without clothes. They're frightened little boys, most of them.
Yes.
All of them. Frightened little boys. Traumatized, scared little boys. So more and more we'll see that everything is upside down. That those who are acting really big and strong are really vulnerable, scared. They're just protecting their weakness because they're so weak and cowardly. They've become cowardly because they've never needed courage.
Yes.
And as we grow and heal and we recognize courage for what it is and we recognize strength for what it really is, and we're not fooled by the power structure, we don't give our power away to these big guys, and we don't look down on people who are below on anybody. We integrate our own self and we learn to love our own selves and connect with all of our parts and accept ourselves, then we can change that. And a brother and sisterhood is not so far-fetched, That's to say, John Lennon's Imagine. No borders, brother and sisterhood. It may take a while, and there may be some rough patches on the way there, but because of course the dark forces are grasping now, they're trying to hold on tooth and nail. But things are changing anyway. I don't think that anything can stop this awakening.
Yes.
And whatever happens through that awakening will be leading towards peace on earth. People want peace on earth. They don't want war.
How do you see the role of, our world gets more and more digitalized?
Yeah.
And I think we talked, Leonard. No, we didn't. We talked quite often about this. Also on the business level and on the consciousness level. Yeah. With the digitalization and the availability of information. Do you think that's an accelerator?
I think that is the other way around.
Okay.
I think that the consciousness is changing, and therefore we have all these digital tools available.
Okay. So the starting point was the consciousness changing, which triggered that basically.
Yeah, it's based on I'm in a self-realization fellowship, and this is Yogananda. Paramahansa Yogananda is my teacher. That is the author of the autobiography of a yogi. And there's an explanation of a Hindu concept of the yugas, which are times of consciousness, if you will, for our Earth and for our solar system. And the idea is that our solar system has cycles of 24,000 years, moving 12,000 years towards a center, magnetic center in the universe that determines consciousness and virtue. So that is, man becomes more intelligent, more aware as we move towards that center, which we are, and then less aware as we move away from it. And the Dark Ages is called the Kali Yuga, when man is only able to comprehend physical matter. That's why in the year 500-600, no one was aware of electricity, and no one was aware of any finer energies that run in the body, because our physical solar system was the farthest removed from this magnetic center in the universe. And now we are moving towards that. And I think we can't stop that movement. We're just in a turbulent time of having just switched from the Kali Yuga to the next Yuga called the Dwapara Yuga, which is 2,000 years. 2,000 years with 200 years on each end. And we've just entered this new time. Mm-hmm. So in the beginning of the shift from the last electricity was invented, and I think everything is gradually coming from that. So that with this digital instruments that we have now, at the end of this era, perhaps we don't need the instruments anymore. We can mentally do it.
Oh yes, that's a much easier way to communicate, I have to say.
Just check in.
Yeah, exactly.
With your array, focus.
Yeah,
but you can feel that. I mean, we do more and more. We feel that. We all have had this experience of just feeling something, and that just thinking of a person when they called, and just before they called, and we all have these experiences. It's just to pay attention to them and know that they're real.
Well, absolutely, yeah.
But meanwhile, we're in the thick of it, and we have these methods of communication, and it just kind of is a way to eliminate space. Mm-hmm. We can all connect at any time, and I think that's, even though this information is not in the mainstream media so much, it's out there anyway, and increasingly people are tuning in and finding it.
Yes,
because people want truth, and it doesn't really take a lot of research to get there.
That's true. Leonard.
I'm just listening and agreeing. So, no, I don't have to add anything. It's
Okay, I had a feeling you have to say something, but maybe.
No. Okay. I was just agreeing. Seriously, it's beautiful.
Wow. I have to say, Anneke, this is. And it just confirms what I saw on your videos and so on. that's what I experience anyhow. You have such an incredible healing energy, because I'm sitting here, and even in this lifetime, I didn't experience anything like this. I have the feeling I just received kind of a humongous healing, and I don't know, from what part or what this is, but it's really, I'm sitting here, and my whole system is like, I just have so much more space than before we started this talk. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
I didn't do anything. You did it. You opened up to it.
Probably, yeah, whatever. But or you channeled something. I don't know. It was just something. It's amazing. Wow.
Well, that's wonderful to hear.
Yes.
That's amazing. That is amazing. My God.
No, it's really true. I just thought all the time, what the, what's going on? What's? It's incredible.
Mhm.
Wow. Well, from my part, if it's okay with you all, the last, 10 minutes now, when you talked about the vision and about the possibilities, I think that's a beautiful kind of, note to end at least this
Absolutely.
podcast.
Absolutely. Thank you for asking.
Well, this was actually the question I wanted to ask you most all the time, but because we can always like linger and dwell in all this dark force or side, yeah. But we are out of it, and it's just, I think, good also for our listeners to understand that there is something else coming, that there's something changing, there's something shifting, and that's absolutely real.
Yes.
And we should, that's a magnet we can allow ourselves to be drawn to. Yeah.
Everyone. If everyone believes it, we're all just like,
Yes.
we're already there.
Exactly.
I
Wow.
actually didn't want to ask this question if we like closing it a bit down, but it's a bit like the stereotypical last question. But if you would have one wish, which you could realize like this, which wish would it be?
Oh God. Like one wish, I get a wish.
Yes. From the universe.
Yes.
I would want everyone to know that love is real, and I would hope for everyone to be able to let it in a little bit,
Wow. To receive it.
to receive it. That's the problem, that people have low self-esteem and they can't receive the love.
Mm.
And I want everybody to receive it. It just makes you melt. You
Yes.
receive the love, you melt.
Absolutely.
And that's what I wish that for everyone, because that's what brings life and makes life worth living, is this feeling of being able to know what love is, what unconditional love is.
Yeah.
Not love connected to sex, like romance, but unconditional love. Like you can be just exactly who you are, exactly how you are right now, right here. You're perfect. Yeah, you can be loved just exactly how you are. Like that's what I want for everyone to like let it in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks. Cool.
Well, nothing can be said after that. So,
Yes.
so thank you so much, Leonard. You want to?
No, I just want to add thank you very much, Anneke, for
Yes.
being on our podcast, and I'm very sure that you will come over to Germany sooner than later.
Yeah.
And thanks for sharing your message and spreading the word, and being the light you are. It's amazing. I've actually just met another person who reminds me of you, like who has the same aura, and he is a Holocaust survivor, and he is as amazing as you are. It's like he has suffered. I think, like what I've just realized again is that, like you went through such a big pain, and like this person who went through the Holocaust pain and survived it as well went through massive pain, and he has not the same light, different personality, and but he has the same charisma and light. And yeah, thank you for being.
It's when you can take the spiritual lessons from whatever life throws at you. You know, when this survivor and we took on some, like, just give it to me, big package. When you can, it obviously not everyone can, but when you can accept the pain and suffering that comes to you and get the spiritual wisdom from it, what it is really there for, to teach you something. When you can do that, it really brings a lot of light. And I wish that, that's another wish.
You have a second one. Come on.
I wish that we can open to that. It's hard to do. It can be sometimes too hard to do, but clearly this other person has had the same experience. And that's wonderful. Great to hear.
Wow.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
To our listeners, thank you for being in today. I will today not make my usual kind of very, loud and outro, because I'm very, very moved, very touched. Thank you so much. To receive love, I think, to be able to receive love and to open up in order to receive love, that's what I also wish, and we all wish for everybody. Thank you so much to you, Anneke. Thank you so much for all who listened in today, and we very much looking forward to talk to you, or to be listened by you in the next episode. Thanks and goodbye.